Yes, not good. You got any questions about anything?
Just where to find the final
I
draft.
don't know. I don't know when
It's
I
actually
get the
funny.
feedback.
You know where to find it?
Oh, sure.
Like his
the
comments
comments?
on the final.
Yeah,
draft.
you're gonna have to open um, so if you go to
The weeks.
you can go to grade, either grades and then, or the weeks, just go to the final draft. And then there. And then you're gonna have to open here.
This right here. Oh, so it's under that.
And then the comment should come in that section that has a Google.
Oh, okay.
So there's no additional feedback there, but when he comments, it's gonna show up.
Okay, that's what you mean.
Yeah,
Find it.
because on the other one,
Yeah.
the session is right below the submission, but for the final draft and the final paper is gonna be there, the bottom there.
Do you remember if you had a lot of feedback on mine or not? Like just off your memory?
No,
Not
I
really.
think, yeah, I think, no, I think I had a couple of things. There were a couple of there was some.
But yeah, look where you highlighted it red and blue.
No, that's not me. Oh, no, it is, but it's not.
Like that.
Yeah, that's the plagiarism checkers.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that highlights it red and blue. My comment should be on the right-hand side, I think, somewhere in the dialog box.
Yeah. But did you grade on it?
Yeah.
Huh, it's not
The
showing
grade's
for
not
me.
popping up.
Yeah.
The grades ain't showing?
It's all, it's like. It's like,
It's just blank.
yeah. It's like it's on there, you can see the weight of it, but then the actual grade is not on there. It's kind of weird. I think it's bugged out. I'm not a big fan of the Moodle system.
Yeah, it's that grade. Hmm. Hmm. When you walk by, was Polly still in office?
The, not the funny.
I'm at the vote, excuse me.
What?
No, Dr. Moore. I have to get to the bottom of it, but I don't know why it's not showing up.
It's not the grade that they do the.
Hmm. Hmm. Okay, I had to get to the bottom of it, but not really sure why it's not going on the other end. You want to come up here and check out your grid, you can. The comments. Yeah, the,
It's not a rush for me.
Anybody want to know that grade now or? Right, right, okay. All right. All right, so, in general, everybody did, okay, I wasn't expecting any finished products or anything like that, but make sure you look at the notes, I didn't give any really crazy feedback unless something was blatant. So the big thing really is about the AI scores and plagiarism, okay? The AI, score, similarity score, whatever. It's not perfect, and so I use it sparingly, but anything over 10%, I'm, I'm basically gonna dig you. Um, so, and you probably can fail the paper. And just the way it is. It's not really, there's no real like gray in it. It's either it is or it isn't. Right? It's not like plagiarism where, kind of gray stuff. There's a couple of words here and there and, stuff like that. The AI generator is basically like, this how much we think your paper represents AI generated content. And so that's what it is. And I kind of have to take a look at it at that point and match it up with the writing style that I'm used to, some of the things that are said, and that kind of thing. So, um, so that's kind of the way it is. So, as far as the methodology or that piece of the paper, I didn't think I had to say this, but I guess I do. This is not a research project in the traditional sense. You're not doing a real study. Your data is coming from your literature review. That's secondary data that you're collecting in order to put together your paper. You cannot put in your methodology. The people that I interviewed gave me this feedback. What people? There are no people to interview. You should not be doing that interview or any type of formal research. That is a process that you have to go through to be able to do research. But academic, if you're doing your own study or you're only taking a poll and you want to know X, Y, Z, that's fine and great and dandy. But in an academic setting, there's forms, there's the IRB, the Institutional Review Board, that you have to send that in the school, and there's a panel that looks at your design, the questions you're asking, the questionnaire itself, how you're collecting the data.
Is that what we can expect for like a doctorate program?
Yeah, or even a master's program, if you're doing a thesis. You don't have a thesis in this program, so you got to look out. But that's when you do research. You can't, in your methodology, put down about interviewing folks and taking surveys, and I already know that's copy. Especially some of the companies that, some of the students are Nike not letting you foot in the door. Okay, not letting you anywhere near the door to talk about anything. All right. So, it's kind of disrespectful to think that you're gonna go to put a paper that you went to Nike or you went to Google or you went to Adobe or anything like that to get research done in an 8-week period. Doesn't work that way with no formal paperwork, no process, no nothing. What you're doing is illegal. All right, if the shoe fits, wear it. If it doesn't, don't take it personal. Don't even worry about it. All right, but I'm telling you now, if I see that in the paper, I already know it's copied, so there's nothing for me to do but to give you an F. Okay, because that's just blatant plagiarism. It's just copying somebody else's work, copying other people's research, and big researchers, people that actually do research, they get in trouble for this stuff. You get banned, you get discredited, their papers get turned away from peer-reviewed journal. There's a lot of things that happen, all right, when you do that. So I don't think anybody here did that. But I know there are a couple papers I saw like this would be interesting. Okay, so don't be that person. It's not difficult to go in and just put your thoughts and ideas on paper. All right, copying and pasting. It's a disservice to you, not to me. Well, it is to me because you're wasting my time. Because I have to go in and kind of discern whether or not you wrote this when I know there's certain words, especially for some of the folks that don't have English as their first language. Remuneration. Does anybody know what remuneration is? No? I didn't think so. Well, it was one of the papers, and I was like, didn't like that. Okay. You gotta be smart about if you're gonna do that, do it right. Okay. If you're gonna cheat right. Okay, cheat. I'm not telling you to cheat, but if you're gonna do it in a way that is not like obvious. It's not just like, oh, remuneration, huh? Great. It's kind of like
renewing something?
no, it's like payments. Payments or like when you remunerate, you kind of give somebody something or you process something in the sense that it's not an incentive. It's kind of like you're looking at it non-food. Yes, it's not. Yeah. It's a pay or other financial compensation. Pay or other financial compensation provided in exchange for employee service. That's it. Not to be confused with giving away or donating or providing to.
It is used in biochemistry for the molecules.
That's right.
Yes, I know this word.
That's right.
I've been through that before.
That's right.
Yeah.
Because you have illumination,
Yes.
from the byproducts,
Yes.
from the chemicals, you
Yes,
put
correct.
chemicals
Yeah.
together, right?
Yeah,
You're
that's
balancing
how-
your formulas.
Yeah, that's how I know this word.
Balancing chemical compounds, your illumination.
Correct.
Right? So be diligent. Mindful of what you're doing, how you're doing it. This is a graduate program for a reason. And every semester, every session, I go through this with the students. You're not fooling me. You're just screwing yourself over. I get it. Maybe there's a language barrier and you want to do well. I understand that part, but there are resources out there that you might want to use to, get your paper decent, to the point where it's okay, it's readable. And then, I'll take that into consideration for all the papers. If I know that's not the person's first language, it's not easy to write and understand topics in somebody else's in another language. So I take that into consideration when I'm reading the paper and I'm grading the paper to understand that the person is intelligent and is smart. They just can't convey what they need to say in English. But give them, let them speak their own language. They're fantastic. All right. So keep that in mind. All right. So last week, or no, this is the week 7, next week is the last week. Make sure you know you're working on your papers and your videos, presentation, all right? It needs to be a video presentation of you presenting your PowerPoint. Okay, you need to see your face, hear your voice as you're presenting the PowerPoint, like I do here. Okay, and just upload it, and you're good to go. All right, we have the final exam next week. So I know some of you getting it proctored. No big deal, good to go. For those that aren't, I expect to see you in class, so whoever shows up next week, cool. If not, then I know you have some prearranged way to take it. If you don't have a prearranged way to take it, or you're not here in class and you should be in class, then you'll probably end up getting an F on the final. Okay? That's just straight up. Aside from that, that's it. Anything else? No? Okay. Case studies were pretty decent. All right. I know some people, got their grade. Probably wasn't the best, but this case study is just not about case study. It's not just about going in and, doing analysis on something that there's been 100 analysis done on. Case study is about collaboration, about teamwork, about dealing with team dynamics, dealing with other people and trying to coordinate towards a common goal. So, you can't just, say, hey, I'm going to submit or I'm not going to submit or I'm not going to participate or whatever the case may be, right? And I usually let you guys pick your own groups and let you do your own thing because you guys are grown-ups. You should put the group together and they would have division of labor and be like, hey, you know what, we're good to go. You do this part, I do this part, I do this part, I do this part, and that's that, right? So, I kind of went with what was submitted, but I also kept in mind about, hey, did you carry your weight? Okay, that's important, especially at the graduate level. This is what master's programs are about specifically. They're about collaboration and teamwork and making sure that you guys get together and work this out. Okay, so just take it for what it is, all right? But remember that going forward, like it's just not about the group work, the case study. It's about the group work. It's about the teamwork, getting together and spending those nights together and those long hours together. You guys don't have the traditional college experience because this is not necessarily, you guys are a little older and things are a little different. But undergrad, graduate school and other bigger schools, it's a different type of experience where people are actually getting together, library, and working together and that kind of thing to make sure everything's good to go. All right, so enough of that Debbie Downer stuff. Any other comments, questions, anything like that? Okay, cool. All right, so today we're going to cover employee rights and responsibilities. All right, so within the organization, it's not always, as much as the organization is big and powerful and has all the money and all that good stuff. The organization has a responsibility to, protect, not only protect, but to make sure that the employees are protected and have their rights, protected, and to make sure that they don't get taken advantage of by the managers, by anyone in the company, right? And so there's certain rules, laws, regulations are in place to make sure that employers don't take advantage or don't kind of mess the employees over, okay? Because you're just one person as compared to an entity, right? An entity with lots of money, right? And so if something happens to you at work, imagine you need to sue the company. It's probably a very daunting task. You don't have a lawyer, nor do you have $50,000 for retainer, right? You don't have a lawyer at home. You have a lawyer in the family who happens to just be a corporate lawyer? Probably not, right? But guess what the company has? Plenty of those. and they have $50,000 and whatever amount of money they need to have, in order to defend themselves, right? So there's lots of rules put in place to make sure that, hey, we take care of employees and we make sure they get treated fairly, right? So there's rights, the statutory rights. And those statutory, you're really talking about the laws and regulations, something put in by the legislation of the government to make sure that we understand, like, these are the things that employees are entitled to, and that you need to not only enforce, right, but you need to develop and enhance upon, right? You just can't be take, and you give no protection to the employee whatsoever. So you have to make sure you're good to go. So key points here, aside from the EEO, is the collective bargaining piece, right? And so you don't really see a lot of collective bargaining unless you're in a unionized environment, okay? And so collective bargaining is a really powerful tool. The problem with collective bargaining sometimes is that once you do your collective bargaining, you're stuck, right? And you may not be a union rep, you may just be a union member, and you will have to vote. And sometimes you don't necessarily approve of what's going on, right? So you may be the minority of the vote, but that doesn't matter because as a collective, you're deciding what it is, okay? And so once the collective decides what it is, and they go to the management and say, hey, these are our demands and this is what we want, the management's gonna look at it as a collective, okay? And you're locked in for years at a time on certain things, okay? If anybody's familiar with NFL, NBA, most of these sports teams, this is how they roll, collective bargaining, all right? They have player association, not even more so than them, we just had a strike, right? This is where strikes come from. We just had a strike by the actors, right? The Screen Actors Guild, what else? The producers and writers and all those guys, they went on strike, right? For like 4 months. That's why the new shows haven't been out. No real new movies have been really put out. There's a couple here and there, right? They just went through collective bargaining and came out with the deal. Their main point, anybody know what their main point of their argument was for the writers and the actors?
Wasn't it like paying a royalty on a passport or something like that?
Paying a royalty passport, that's one of them, but the main one was what? You may know. The main one was AI. They're not getting paid for studios using AI instead of using the actor, or the studio using AI to write content instead of using actually a writer. Okay, so these are the things that companies do to circumvent paying people their money. Okay, ChatGPT and all this other stuff, right? Why would I pay you when I can get ChatGPT to write me a whole script? Okay, and so they were fearful of that. Like anything that we need to write and anything that you want to use AI for, you need to pass it by us. We need to put the thumbs up on that. If we say no, then you can't use it. Okay, and as you watch your movies and your show, you will see there's more and more. It used to be CGI, right? Now it's just AI straight up. Okay, and so you'll see AI being implemented in many ways, different art, different movies, different writings, okay? And so part of the agreement for them was that, a pay raise, and that kind of thing. So collective bargaining can be really powerful if, you have someone who's a strong rep for you that goes in and really puts in the collective objectives of all the people, and management is open to it. You can go back and forth. That's why it takes so long sometimes. 4 months is a long time, so they finally came to some agreement. I think the actors still have to fall in line with whatever they're doing, but nonetheless, collective bargaining is definitely a powerful thing. Workplace safety is another one that, was more on, a priority back in the 90s and 2000s because we had a rash of shootings in public spaces as far as offices and that kind of thing. But it's kind of died down now, especially after COVID. Workplace safety kind of took a back seat because no one was really at work, right? Everybody was at home or they were working remote. And some of the reasons you work remote is because someone has gone through some incident at work, and it's not safe for them per se, or they don't feel safe, okay? So workplace safety is one of those things where, you know, as a right, I have the right to have a safe work environment. I have the right to have a non-hazardous work environment. I can't come to work and it be 20 below zero, but you want me to work. The conditions have to be not optimal, but they have to be okay. It can't be, you know, detrimental to my health. It can't put me in harm's way, that kind of thing. If they do those things, then there's an associated pay that goes with that, right? Hazardous duty pay. Right? That's why people get that. When you're working in environments that are hostile or not favorable, coal mining, oil rigs, all right, maintenance in sewers and drainage systems, like things that you know, like you don't want to do, right? And that you potentially, if you're not careful, aircraft maintenance or just air traffic control, not air traffic control, but the air guys, I don't know what they're called, but the guys on the ground bringing the planes in and just doing maintenance on the plane. Those guys are in hazardous positions. And at any time, something can happen. So they get hazardous duty pay, right? Military folks, when we're in combat zone, they get hazardous duty pay, okay? And so workplace safety is a big deal, and we want to make sure that we keep people safe so that they can focus on what they need to do at work. Okay? All right. Oops. All right, employment contract, everybody kind of knows what that is, right? Just kind of like the agreement between me and you, or you and the organization saying, hey, I'm gonna do this, and you're gonna pay me that, right? And so that's a contract, it's in black and white, written, and so that everybody can see it. There's no deviating from it. The problem with contracts is that most of us don't read them all the way through, right? A lot of mumbo jumbo, fine print in there, and you will get caught not reading it, okay? I don't think anybody's ever read a full contract. I know I haven't, all right? It's just very long and tedious, and some smart lawyer came with it a long time ago, and we could move on their part, okay? Because I'm not reading those 25-page contract. I'm just gonna assume I'm good to go, all right? But nonetheless, you have a contract. This is a pretty powerful thing, and a legal and binding document, okay? So it gives you a lot of power, but it also gives the employer a lot of power to do things. Okay? The next thing is non-compete agreement, right? So, anybody familiar with non-compete? Anybody know what non-compete is?
I know what it is, but I don't see how it's even legal. Like,
What?
because how can you stop someone from, let's say they quit Google as a software engineer
Mhm.
and they want to go over to Microsoft, what's to stop them?
No,
Why?
nothing to stop them. They can. You know, with the non-compete, let me see.
Because I thought it was like, if you have a certain skill at a certain location, you can't go to the next business and use that same skill.
Yeah,
That-
so
that's the theory
that's the
behind it,
key,
right?
that's
Yeah.
the key, right? So you can quit the job, right?
Mhm.
The key really is what information are you taking with you? Right? Is it proprietary information? What did you do? Right? And so they don't want, it's like working at KFC, right? And then you go to work at, I don't know, Chick-fil-A, and your boss like, hey, what's that secret recipe they got on the KFC?
So why not, instead of non-complete agreements, why don't they just make people sign non-disclosure agreements?
NDA is a little different, just because NDA kind of, you know, you can't say anything. NDA is like, you can't talk about it, you can't do anything. Non-competes are a little different. Non-compete gives you a little more flexibility because they understand, like, you may want to leave Google to work for Microsoft. You know, that's your prerogative, to do so. You just can't take any of the things that you've done over here and take them over there, right? Because they will sue the company, and seen it a bazillion times. They will sue the bejesus out of you. Okay, so non-competes are really important, and really a lot of times, the non-competes really are in place for people that are planning to branch out on their own, right? You work for Google, you try to work for Google, then you go work for your own self, right? And you look at the business model, you look at all the stuff they have or the stuff they're doing. It's like, that looks like what you did at Google. That looks like Google's thing. As a matter of fact, it's a Google logo right there. Yeah, can't do that, okay? But again, it's only for a certain amount of time, it's not forever. Okay. All right, non-piracy agreements and non-solicitation of current employees. Anybody got to do with non-piracy statements on?
Companies?
No, not that kind of piracy. Anybody? Okay, so non-piracy really refers to, you can't really, reproduce the item and then try to pass it off, right? So we've all been on the streets in some fancy city and we see the guy on the street selling, Louis Vuitton bags. Man, it looks just like the real one. Guess what? They're not, right? But this is piracy, right? The Chinese, unfortunately, are very infamous for being pirates, okay? Non-piracy, that's not in their vocabulary. They steal everything, okay? That's how the Chinese have gotten ahead. They steal everything.
Their deep Rolexes.
Yes.
Professionals almost can't tell the difference in
No,
them.
you can't. And a lot of times with the non-piracy, the thing is that the products could technically be made in the same place.
Yeah.
Right? They mean same, they come up the same line, one right after the other. The fact that they're not being sold or endorsed by the parent company makes them fake. They're not legit, right? But they look the same, right? We have knockoffs. I've seen some great knockoffs. I mean, I've seen some knockoffs that are, I think, food, like experts get fooled. And people that say they know what they're talking about, and they get fooled by knockoffs, right? Non-solicitation of current employees means that if I'm gonna go to non-compete, if I'm gonna go for another business, I can't go, hey, you wanna come with me? Right? I can't poach. Right? I can't come in and you guys like, hey, I'm gonna go start my own company, I'm gonna start my own school. Okay, come join me. Okay. So school's not as much as a big deal, but if I had a business and I was trying to get you to come with me to my business, yeah. No bueno, it's not that. Intellectual rights, okay? That's basically anything that's not tangible, that is more of an idea or concept. We're talking about copyright on just, ideas and stuff like that. Right? You come up with some kind of new process to do something, all right, that's protected, all right? You cannot take those things with you when you leave the company. Anything you do at the company with company assets belongs to the company, right? Unfortunately, right? And so this is where sometimes the non-compete, the protection of intellectual property kind of are conflicting because you could very well come up with an idea and you work for Google, you come with a new idea and you're like, Google, you don't think Google's going to really support you, right? So you say, I'm going to branch out on my own. But then what people don't think about is, okay, how did you get to this idea, right? It's an original idea, but how did you get to it? Oh, you use my computer to do the research for this particular part of it. Can't use it, okay? Oh, you use my chair, or use the stapler to staple the papers that you presented to the investors. Now, guess what? You can't do it, okay? It's that particular, it's that specific, right? Because what's happening is companies are losing out on money, okay? And so in order to combat that, what companies, some of the companies, Amazon does this very well, right? If you as an employee have an idea and you work at Amazon, you can present it to Amazon. And Amazon will fund you to grow the idea and turn it into a business, right? And they will say, hey, you know what? It's your business. We're going to fund you, but we want a piece of it, right? And there's a lot of businesses that are out there that are Amazon funded. They're doing very well. Amazon just has a piece of them, all right? But without those resources from Amazon, they probably wouldn't really make the business successful or make it happen at all, right? So it's important, right? You got implied contracts, all right? So this topic here is tricky because within within every contract is implied stuff, okay? And what we mean by implied is that it's not written anywhere, right? So when you come to class, all right, what do you expect of me? To teach, right?
Right.
Teach, right? Okay, but in my contract, it's implied that I will make sure that I take care of you guys, all right? That I treat you with respect, all right? That I address your concerns, whether they be school related or not. If you want to talk to me, you can, right? Those are unimplied. There's nowhere in my contract, and I don't get paid for it, right? When I talk to you, I text you or call, we talk about grades and stuff like that. I don't get paid for that.
You talk to us for free.
I talk to you guys for free, right? I like you guys, all right? So I talk to you for free, right? But it's an implied thing, okay? And so there's a lot of implied implication in contracts. So you have to be careful about, what are the implications of the job, right? What's implied? And so, yeah, these are your responsibilities and your duties, but what else do I need to do? What else is there that's not on that's not on paper that is required of me, all right? So you kind of have to look at the contract and figure that out, all right? It's an unwritten agreement to by actions on party involved, right? So basically, it's an understanding, right? It's a gentleman's understanding, kind of a handshake or like a little head nod, like, it's not your contract, your job and duties, but when you leave at the end of the day, guess what? Empty your trash. It's your trash, empty it, right? I'm gonna provide you with bathrooms. That's not your contract that you should get a bathroom, but I'm gonna give you one, right? I'm gonna give you a snack bar. I'm gonna give you a cafeteria. I'm gonna give you a parking spot, right? None of that's in your contract, unless you have a special parking spot, of course, but usually it's not, none of that's in your contract, okay? All right, so let's get to the real stuff here. Employment at will, all right. Anybody, let's talk about the couple. Employment at will, wrongful constructive discharge, just cause due process, obligation of justice. All these things are things that affect the employee and the employer, right? And are more of, kind of housekeeping things and things that we try to look out for. We don't want to deal with and we don't want stuff to happen, okay? All right, so employment at will. Anybody familiar with that concept? What is employment at will?
You get fired for no reason.
You get fired for no reason, okay? Yeah, all right. Anybody else got anything to add to it? No? What about from the employee standpoint?
You can also quit.
Quit, right? And also quit, right? So employment at will basically says, I can let you go without any just cause, without any cause, right? If it meets my business needs, unless there's a statutory requirement or a contract. Okay, those are the only two reasons employment at will doesn't work, right? The government also doesn't really work that way for the government, right? So employment at will is useful, is great, when you want to go and when you want someone to go, you can, no question. Now, not every state is employment at will, but a lot of them are. Okay, a lot of them are. All right. So, certain exceptions, that's the public policy, private contract, that kind of thing. Okay. All right, wrongful discharge and constructive discharge. All right, let's start with wrongful discharge. Anybody know what wrongful discharge is? What we'll be talking about here?
Probably firing someone based on something illegal,
Yeah.
like firing them on race, sex, religion, any of that.
Yep, basically, all right? It's when you let someone go for a not just cause, right? Something that is illegal or protected class or just for whatever, okay? Wrongful termination will definitely get you in a lot of trouble as an organization, and not something you really want to indulge in, I should say. A lot of times it's about personality conflicts. At the end of the day, people don't get along with each other, or people are trying to hide something that they've done to an employee, and so they fire them. And so then at that point, the employee retaliates or comes back and say, "Hey, why'd you fire me? There was no reason to fire me." It's not the same as employment at will. Okay, employment at will, there's gonna be some reason. They don't have to tell you the reason that you need at the core of employment at will. I don't have to tell you why, right? It could be the fact that I need to cut 10 people because of financial reasons, right? It's a business decision. But when it comes down to wrongful termination, it's more of like you said, protected class, personal, something aside from, a business need. All right. Legal and proper, all right. Constructive discharge is a little different, all right. Constructive discharge is when I make it so terrible for you to come to work that you leave. All right. And so this happens, this happens quite often, not as much anymore, but it used to happen a lot. In the 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, specifically to minorities and to women, right? This movie is based on a true story. It's with Charlize Theron. I don't know if you've seen it. She works in a coal mine. It's an older movie.
Old movie when they're forming the unions,
Um,
or is it kind of an old movie?
no, it's a different movie.
Is it old?
Yes, it's pretty old, right? She's working in a coal mine. The problem is that she's one of 3 women in the coal mine. Okay, and so the men, they don't appreciate it because they feel that that's 3 men that could have had those jobs. And so what they do is they make the environment so bad for her. Okay, they smear feces on her locker. They put rats in her locker. They harass her. They, sexually assault her, sort of. She gets sexually assaulted, right? And no one believes her. And she has to go to court and fight this whole thing, right? And so constructive discharge is just that. When you make it so untenable for someone that they leave, right? And you could say, I'm not culpable. They left. I didn't do anything. Well, you made the situation, the environment, a hostile environment. She didn't feel safe. You couldn't come to work without getting harassed. And you did that and you looked the other way. Okay, that's the other part about constructive discharge. People will look the other way when they know what's going on, right? And it happens in different facets, different industries, but it happens all the time, right? People just create an environment to where it isolates people, and people make the decision to leave. Okay.
So what would be the legal repercussions? Like the company would get sued and then the company would fire all the people that took part in it?
Not necessarily. Each one is different. So depending on what occurred, right? Nowadays, yes. Yeah, nowadays you definitely be fired, right? As a participant, right? And also you would get that person would get some serious money. They would sue, and then get lengthy court issue unless they went to some kind of mediation arbitration. It's a pretty much that's not something you want to take to court as an organization, as a business entity. You probably lose that fight because people are very, very sympathetic and empathetic towards those kind of things. Okay, so companies are not necessarily wanting to go to court. They will try to settle out of court on that. And so the employees that were involved usually are discharged, depending on their position. And then they're either, if they're not discharged, they're usually fined and all that other stuff. But typically nowadays, they're usually discharged and sent on their way, right? It's not just, back in the day, it was a little different, right? They would pretty much protect those people and say, hey, got it, we'll pay the fine or whatever settlement. And then those guys would just keep moving along, moving up the corporate ladder and It would be that way, they would sweep it on the rug, okay? But, not the case anymore, okay? Now, it's, I think it's a little different nowadays because there's different things that people kind of do that with, right? It's not just gender anymore. It's religion, it's ethnicity, right? That you are using as a factor criteria to treat people a certain way, right? You can't kind of gang up on them and create a situation where things are just bad. So people just have different approaches, but it still occurs. Right? It still occurs. All right. So trying to prepare a defense against forward discharge, all right? So remember last week I was talking about performance evaluations, right? And I was talking about a paper fortress, right? So the first thing as a company, all right, if I'm going to try to defend a wrongful discharge, right, accusation, the first thing, like I said last week, the first thing I said, let me see the performance evals, all right? Because if you let this person go, they must have done something terrible. Not terrible, but they just didn't perform. Okay? So let me see their evals. And usually at this level right here, once you see the evals, they kind of get a good idea of like, okay, which direction is gonna go in. If all the evals are exemplary, excellent, best person I ever had work for me, and all of a sudden the person gets fired, 9 times out of 10, probably something going on. All right. But if there's a pattern of, poor performance, lateness, just not good, employee, then you probably can be like, okay, I see where you got fired, right? But the problem is that a lot of people do not do good performance evaluations first thing, all right? So guess what? We're gonna go to another thing, right? We're gonna develop documentation just to find dismissals, all right? Now, I said something last week that is along this line, right? What did I say last week? Anybody remember what I said last week about another way to document the records, right? That counts. Developing documentation, okay? You keep the record because stuff like this comes up all the time. People will put in frivolous lawsuits and say, I got wrongfully discharged. Just to roll the dice just to see, right? Because most companies will cave. They'll be like, you know what? We really don't want to spend the money on lawyers as compared to the money we need to give you. We give 50 grand to go away.
Or the publicity.
All the publicity, right? We give 50,000. Will you go away? Sure. I know there was nothing going on, but guess what? You couldn't prove it, right? Because you had no documentation.
There is a saying, it says, it's not documented, it's not done.
It's not done. That's right.
Yeah.
Right. It's not documented. It didn't happen. Didn't happen, right? So that's why last week when I mentioned, always document the stuff, right? Because that counts as a legal document, right? If you date stamp it and you sign it, it counts as a legal document, right? So make sure you document. So develop documentation, provide employees with a written warning, which is another mistake people don't make. People make. You can't wait till the person screws up 4 or 5 times and say, oh, I'm firing you, and you didn't talk to them. Okay? There's a process. First time's a warning, a verbal warning. Just a little more stern. Like, hey, you're late again. I'm going to have to document this. Third time is, okay, you're late. What's going on? This is going into your personnel record. You're late? All right. This is the 4th time you're late. So now you are on probation. Okay. The next time you're late, I'll fire you. Right? That's how it kind of goes, right?
Do text count?
Huh?
Do text count?
I don't know, that's a tough one. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. I'm not really sure what situation they count in. Just for the fact that the electronic things are great. The problem is that those things can be edited. They can be doctored, they're not immutable, they can be manipulated. And so, and texts are very difficult to retrieve. So, you can't You know, because I know everybody's like, oh, just go to Sprint or AT&T and they just get up. No, they don't keep that stuff like that. It takes a lot of work for them to go ahead and pull it. Now, if you have it on your phone, you're good because you really can't edit that, right? You can delete it. You can do a lot of things with it, but you can't touch it. You can't edit it in any way unless you take it out, but then you can't put it back into the text chain. It doesn't work that way, right? And so if you have it physically, yeah, that's probably the best bet for you, right? To prove your point, right? Let's see. Yeah, so you have to give the employees a warning, right? You just can't just, hey, you screwed up, don't say anything. You screwed up again, don't say anything, oh, you're fired. They're gonna win that 9 times out of 10 as a wrongful termination. Okay, the employee will. Right? Provide written grounds for termination decision. That's kind of an inherent process, right? Once you start the whole thing of we're gonna fire somebody based on wrongful termination, there's a process that it goes through, right? Through HR and with the manager and the supervisor and that kind of thing. And then at the end of the day, when it's time for you to go, you kind of get escorted out and take all your stuff and boom, you get your last check and then you kind of roll out. Okay. And so there's a couple of different things that go on, but you want to make sure that you have everything in writing so you appear transparent and upfront in that so you can show that you didn't do anything wrong, right? Because the burden of proof is on you as an organization, not the employee. Because the employee doesn't have the resources. And so the courts put it on the company, prove to me that you did not do what you've been accused of. Okay? Not the other way around. This is a really important thing, right? Has anybody ever fired anybody yet? No one's ever fired anybody? No one? Just me, huh?
I wish I could have.
Fired anybody?
Oh, yeah, fired for a long time.
I wish I could have been Navy.
You been fired before?
Yeah.
We've all been there. We've all been fired at one point or another for something. I don't know. I don't know. I've never actually been fired. Well, I know you don't. Let me take that back. I did. I had one company that let me go, but I was like, yeah, they knew I did not. I learned a lot on the job, but I did not like the job at all. It was just like.
So you just saying that to make me feel good.
Yeah. Okay. No, they let me go. They let me go, but I was fine with it. I was like, yeah, I was okay because I was getting ready to leave anyway. But when you are so, in addition to the paper fortress, when you are counseling someone, especially when they're opposite gender, you always want to try to have another person in there. Okay. Of course, you want to ask the person that you're counseling, hey, I'm gonna have somebody else in here. Do you mind? You want me to be a male, female, someone you don't know, like how you want this to go, right? Because if you don't, it turns into a he say, she say thing. Your word against mine. Okay. The only thing I have going for me is that I'm in a position of authority, and so by default, I'm probably gonna get the benefit of the doubt as the boss, right? But that doesn't mean I'm telling the truth. Okay, I could very much be lying to cover my own butt. All right, so you want to have a third party in there that is impartial and objective. Right? Don't bring your buddy in. Don't bring anybody that you chummy with. Okay, bring somebody that is a peer to that person. Okay, peer or senior. Don't bring anybody lower. Don't bring peer or senior, right? Because it's probably already embarrassing as it is that they're getting counseled or fired or whatever the case, dismissed. You gotta bring somebody in higher, right? And so you want to have that person in there so that there's no misconception about what was said, right? And if it comes down to legal proceeding, they can easily go and say, what occurred in your estimation, from your perspective? What do you think happened? All right? And that helps a lot to, either prove one side or the other correct or whatever the case may be. Okay. All right, so now we get to just cause. All right. And just cause is basically the concept that says I have to have a reason as to why I'm firing you. Okay, it has to be a legitimate reason for performance, behavioral issues, inability to really work together, work with coworkers, that kind of thing, right? There has to be some reason. It can even be a business reason, right? Have just cause to let you go. This was, this was a big deal during COVID, right? Because if someone, so when we read that, from the last LE, 2 LEs ago, we talked about the fast food industry, right? And so if you worked someplace where you had to go in with a mask, okay, and you didn't want to wear a mask, right? A lot of people got fired, or you had to take the COVID shot in order to come back to work, and you didn't. Guess what? That's just cause, okay? Because it's mandated for the safety of others for you to do that, right? You have to be able to come into work vaccinated if you want to work here, because I have to protect everybody and not just you, right? If you decide not to follow the rules and you come in and I fire you, I'm well within my rights to do so.
There was so much gray area with that though, wasn't there?
Mm-hmm.
Because they've even proven that a lot of the vaccines are ineffective.
Yeah, that's another story. I'm not gonna
Yeah, yeah.
get on that one. But
So it's like, how can they have this cause whenever all the research on the vaccine is so new that it's like, there was no long-term studies or anything?
yeah, the problem is that because it's endorsed by the FDA and endorsed by the government,
Yeah.
you know, that's the government body.
Play the book, yeah.
You got, you know, whether or not, you know, the vaccine was effective or not, and or what the actual consequences or implications of the vaccines are later down the road, that's of no consequence to HR. You know, that's more or less like, hey, this is what we're recommending. You do. If you take it, great. If you don't, we understand. But if you don't take it, you can't work here.
Yeah. But then now there's people turning around and suing, like those, the Navy SEALs are suing the military for being discharged for not getting it down in Florida.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
they won the case.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, because there's a lot of I mean, I never got the shot. I never got the COVID shot. I just didn't. I've had enough stuff pumped in me in the military that I already know not to take stuff that's not. And I understand the research process, and how pharmaceuticals come to the market, and it was just too fast. You know, stuff usually takes 5, 6, 10 years to come to market because of the tests and everything. This thing was done in 18 months. Like, that happened, right? But there was some gray because let's just take for instance, anybody familiar with Kyrie Irving? No, Kyrie.
Basketball?
Yeah, Kyrie Irving. He's an NBA basketball player.
Lakers?
No, he's Kyrie plays for the Dallas Mavericks now, but he was playing for New York. He was playing for Brooklyn Nets at that point during COVID, and so he did not take the shot. And New York had a mandate that if you wanted to come to work, you had to take the shot. You had to take the COVID shot. Okay. The problem with Kyrie is that he's an NBA player. What do NBA teams do? They travel. Some states he went to, they didn't have that. So he could play in those states, but he could never play home games. So there was a lot of gray, like, okay, he can't play here, but he can play in Colorado, right? And the other thing is that, what about the teams that are coming from Colorado coming to New York? They have unvaccinated players. Can they play in New York? Can they work in New York? Because they're technically working, right? Can they work in New York? They're not vaccinated. So if they can play, why can't Kyrie play? He's not vaccinated. So it was some gray. Eventually the NBA won and they didn't let him play, but he got paid. He kept getting his money, right? So it's the more important part for him, right? So just cause definitely is an important topic, all right? Due process, right? Due process really relates to making sure that you have some formal way in which people are dealt with or adjudicated, right? And that they get all the available resources, everything that they can, have access to, and they get treated fairly and in a timely manner, right? Due process has a time function to it. okay? And so with the time function, you have to make sure that people get processed in a orderly fashion, all right? So when you deal with the EOC, the Employment Opportunity Commission, they have a timeline. So if you put in a grievance to HR has 48 hours to respond to that. Okay, and then HR will come back to you. You have 5 days to rebut or to go back, and then that goes back to them. And then the EOC has 3 days or 72 hours to do something else, and then it goes back and it's back and forth. But there's timelines associated with that, so there's due process. So everything really runs quickly as you can, right? Now, due process is not perfect. Okay, due process get lengthy, and there's things that happen that, okay, we can't really accommodate certain things, right? If you look at former President Trump's trial and all everything that he's going through right now, he's getting due process, but it's a very slow, very arduous thing because of who he is and how he approaches things, right? And so, and there's so many moving pieces to it, right? He can do process, but at the same time, he's got a gag order, right? He can't talk about certain things. At least he can't threaten the judge and all the people that are working on his case as far as the
It's just convenient that they're doing the court at the same time as the elections, you know?
right.
It's just very convenient.
Exactly. But I mean, at the end of the day, which I don't understand why they don't have it. I don't think if you are pending any legal issues, you should not be able to run for president. You shouldn't be running for any office. You're pending legal issues. You have to wait till those things are adjudicated. Then you can come back and run all you want, right? Hopefully you don't have a felony. If you have a felony, guess what? You can't be president, right? So due process again gives people opportunities to really state their case, right? This is what, let me give you my side of the story, right? But in a timely fashion. Time's it, Marianne. 6:50. What? Oh, you already got your.
Because I got my.
All right. Okay.
You done your coffee?
Let's
Sorry.
take 10 minutes and then come back. Okay. Take 10, come back. Oh.
Good.
Yeah, I'm looking at that Amazon thing that you were talking about. It's genius.
Mm-hmm.
Because you already have people like what I was doing
Yeah.
private labeling,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm already paying the Amazon fee, like a Prime membership fee for Seller Central was like 40 a month.
Yeah.
And then you also had to pay the taxes on all the products. The customers don't pay the taxes, the seller pays it, and then you just adjust your prices. So not only are they financing that, and they're gonna get their money and their interest from that, they're
Right.
also getting their money and interest from selling on it.
Mm-hmm.
They're double dipping. That's smart.
It's very smart. Jeff Bezos saying he ain't a dummy. Man, not a dummy.
I thought he was gonna be one of the first billionaires, but I think that Alibaba guy beat him to it. Or has he not hit a billion yet?
He's a billionaire?
Yeah.
He's a billionaire.
Or a trillionaire.
Oh, trillion. I was like, yeah. No, I don't. Yeah, I'm not sure who's a trillionaire.
So with this final exam, like what could I be looking at or doing to get like 100% on that final exam? Like what would you recommend? Just going to the PowerPoints or
Yeah, I would recommend going to the PowerPoints, and the quizzes.
I can't look at the quizzes anymore. What does it lock you out of them? You can't see it anymore.
The PowerPoint should be fine. I don't want to tell you just read everything, but
Yeah.
that's not the case. I would really just be focused on kind of the big general topics for each subject. Definitely focus on Title VII and the protected classes and discrimination, that kind of thing. I probably would focus on compensation, employee benefits a little bit.
Because it is open, right? Open
Yes,
book.
yeah, it's okay.
Does open book mean PowerPoint?
Yeah. Yeah, okay. PowerPoint, the only thing you can't use is the internet. Yeah, you can't Google anything or that kind of thing, but you can use any other resource you have. If you come in with your notes, that's fine. You're good with that.
Yeah, we could talk all day about the vaccine, that's for sure.
Yeah, I did not,
I got out of the Navy right before they mandated it. I was in the medical separation process as they were
I
mandated
didn't,
it.
yeah,
And they kept telling me, it's like, you need to go, you're 8 weeks steamed. And it's like, bro, I get out next month, I'm not going.
yeah, no, and, it's,
And then my wife got it.
Oh,
And
did
she's
she?
been more sick since then than I have.
yeah, I just was like, I wouldn't have got it. And I mean, I've taken enough shots to know,
I've even taken like anthrax shots.
yeah, I've taken all the anti-series. And so, rubella, smallpox, all kind of stuff that,
And boot camp, you walk down the line and there's the HMs on the side, they
yeah. But really for deployment is when I got the most shots.
right before the phone.
Yeah, I mean, literally before I even got on the bird, we got, well, one deployment got on the bird, he gunned us before we got on the bird. Like literally as we're walking through the door. And then when we got on, my second time on ship, right before we got on ship, like a day or two, all right, get some shot, yeah. So,
And it's like if the last person didn't document it, they don't care if you got it already, you're gonna get another one.
yeah, it was tough, so, but, it's hard, because, you gotta balance out whether, your career and what your plans are long term as compared to what's going on right now and the need for this mandate, which a lot of, I mean, I had to put one of my good Marines in the brig. Well, it wasn't that, it was being a conscientious objector.
Oh.
Yeah, and that doesn't
Did
really.
he have a valid reason for it though? Like,
He was
was he
Muslim.
actually?
He was Muslim. Yeah. He was Muslim and he just was like, I'm not going in to shoot other Muslims.
They wanted to join the military.
Well, he didn't realize that, I mean, when he joined, we're in conflict with the Middle East, not direct conflict anyway, so. And that those are things that people don't necessarily think about. Right, when you join, you don't think about like, oh, you may, if you're from a different country or different doing practice of faith or that kind of thing, you don't think about those things. But when I first came in, they had a mission going to Haiti, and
What year did you go in?
92.
So like Desert Shield, Desert Storm?
Yeah, yeah, but we go to Haiti, and they're like, hey, we're doing a task force. They're going to Haiti, a security task force, and we've got bodies. And I said, and they were like, anybody speak French? I spoke French, Creole, I understand. My whole family's Haitian, 99.9%. We got other things in there, but basically from Haiti. And so I was like, nope, not me. I was like, I don't speak French, I don't speak Creole, I don't understand it. They're like, okay, you stay here, all right, don't go. Because I was like, I don't want to go that day. End up shooting my cousin I don't know. So yeah, that one's tough with the vaccine. Yeah, I don't know if I would have taken it. I'm not sure.
But what if you were a company, would you have enforced it? Like a lot of companies did. Cause there were even like gyms out here that refused to close when they were, California
Yeah,
said all
yeah.
gyms had to close.
Mhm.
I started going to Metroplex, cause they were
Yeah.
like, no, we're not gonna close.
Yeah, there are a lot of places didn't close, like, a lot of businesses downtown, they stayed open. And, they didn't get much business, but they were open. They like, we're not closing. Whether it forced it, I don't know. It depends. Like, the thing is, those people's livelihood depend on it. Like, if I had a company, I had like 10 people working for me. Yeah, I'm like,
Like, if you don't wanna come in, just phone.
yeah, just phone in, but at the same time, yeah, I wouldn't have fired anybody over. I was like, hey, like, because the problem is that they were going around inspecting folks, right, checking to see. And if you were open, you were the outlier. You were sticking out like a sore thumb because everything else was closed. And if you're open, it's really easy to see. You're open. And so, they're going in there checking for masks, they're going in there checking for everything. Like, you have the barriers up, that's what, OSHA and the health department, they're on a rampage. So it's difficult.
Was this school requiring the vaccine? Cause my other school was, but I got a religious exemption.
Definitely
From
mask.
Kentucky or whatever it was.
Yeah, definitely mask. And I think, they started up mandating the vaccine, but then we started putting up shields. We literally had shields around, around the podium and between each desk. And then the students had to sit, like, you get, just be your row. Then somebody would sit over there, and then somebody would sit in the corner way off. Yeah, it was ridiculous. So hungry. I don't wanna get hangry. Alright, so when we look at just cause, right, and we're trying to evaluate it from a perspective of, okay, as a company, all right, and we're trying to create our defense and make sure all our I's are dotted and T's are crossed, right? Okay. First thing we're gonna really look at is, was the employer rule reasonable? What the company was asking you to do or not do, was that reasonable, right? Is it gonna pass the reasonable man concept, right? Or theory, right? If a reasonable person would not do this and you're asking them to do it, then it probably is not something that I would expect people to do, right? Hey, you're not a fireman, but I want you to run into that building and get that thing, okay? Like, no, I'm not gonna do it. Okay, well, you're fired. All right, well, fire me, right? Because guess what? When I go to court to sue you, I'm gonna win, right? Because it's not inherent to my job, right? As a fireman, I'm expected to run into burning buildings. As a police officer, I'm expected to go run towards the gunfire, right? As a military person, I'm expected to do certain things. As a programmer, I'm expected to do certain things. As a doctor, as a nurse, as a businessman, right? There's certain expectations, right? So are they reasonable in nature, right? And the other thing is, would I ask someone to do something that I'm not willing to do myself? And that really is a key test. If you are not willing to do it yourself and you ask someone else to do it, that tells me that it probably is not kosher. Okay? Probably not something that is gonna pass the sniff test. Right? Was the employee warned of the consequences of conduct, right? So this is where it's important that you sit down with the employee and like, hey, you're late. This is gonna happen the next time, okay? And subsequent times after that, till you either correct the deficiency or we terminate you, okay? But there has to be some sit down. There has to be some acknowledgement of, hey, this is your problem and this is how you can remedy it. Right? There has to be that particular instance. If there's not that instance, you're gonna lose automatically because you didn't give the person a chance to fix the problem. You just saw the problem and you just punished them, right? Without giving an opportunity to fix it. The management investigate before disciplining. Now this one gets people in trouble all the time. Okay, this knee-jerk reaction, right? Especially when you have a situation that's very high profile. Okay. Oh, guess what? A police officer got accused of being corrupt, of being on the take. Hey, suspend him, fire him, whatever. Did you actually do the research or investigate to see if these claims are true? Right? Now, well, how do you not know somebody just after him or like vendetta trying to just smear him and talk bad about him? You don't, right? Because you didn't do an investigation. Gonna find out this person is being vindictive, said some rumors, right? Slander is where slander and that kind of thing pops up, right? Libel, okay? Saying things about people that aren't true, right? You have to investigate, no matter what. If you don't investigate, then you're gonna end up making some bad decisions, right? So prior to doing anything, right? Of course, you're going to, and it says before disciplining, right? It doesn't say before putting on administrative leave. It doesn't say before relocating or, put them in some other position. Discipline, right? So when I think of discipline, I think that, okay, we've seen what the charges are, seen what the accusation is. We've done our investigation. We've come to some conclusion, and now we're going to provide the discipline, the sentencing, or whatever it is that you're going to deal with because of your actions. Okay, whether they're good or bad, whatever the case may be. But you can't do anything till you investigate when it comes to discipline. You can't sentence someone before they go to court. Right? Oh, you're accused of rape, 20 years. We haven't gone to trial yet. Yeah, I know, but 20 years, okay? And this happens all the time, not necessarily in corporate America, but you'll see this happen sort of in our legal system, right? You get arrested for domestic violence. right? Guess what? You're going to jail. And you're gonna sit there. And they will say, well, you're gonna go to arraignment, and then the judge will decide whether or not he's gonna let you post bail. Now, did you do anything? I don't know. I have no idea yet. Right? But for the most part in America, as a male, if this is a domestic violence issue, 9 times out of 10, you're going to jail. At least for the night. Okay? Unless you get arrested early in the morning, you might make it out, but more likely not. Okay? Now, that person may or may not be guilty, but guess what? He got disciplined, sort of, it's more of a safety tactic, but at the same time, it's kind of screwed up because instead of just saying, hey, you gotta separate, go different ways for right now, get a cool off period, you really can't do it because I can't really trust either one of you to kind of stay away from each other. All right, especially relationships. People get heated, and the next thing you know, and we've seen so many instances of that where people are separated, they're allowed to go, they're freed on their own recognizance, and they go back and they shoot the person or they get end up killing the person, whatever, and then it's like, oh, so why didn't you put him in jail? Or why was he free or why was she free? You can't win either way, okay? All right. Was the investigation fair and impartial? All right. Whenever who's ever done an investigation here? Anybody? Investigation in the company? No? No? Okay. All right, I've done a few. I've done a lot of investigations, not a few. Okay. So one of the key things about when you are appointing someone to do an investigation, it should be somebody who is not in that direct chain of command, who is not in that particular department, office. It needs to be someone external to that section or that, that unit, right? Because they need to be fair and impartial. It's better if they don't know anything. They don't know the person. They don't know anything. That's really who you want to get. The person that doesn't know anything. Like, who's this? What's this about? I didn't hear about this. What's going on? You need to do investigation. What are the circumstances? Like, okay, this is what happened. You get briefed up, right? Because if you pick the wrong person and there's some political, leaning on or bias, and you see, we've all seen the movies, right? Corrupt whatever, corrupt mayor, whatever, and the mayor says, hey, do an investigation so we can, say we did one. And he picks his lackey, his right-hand man, do an investigation, okay? And you know what the investigation needs to say, right? Yeah. And then investigation comes out, and it's like, no, they didn't do anything, they're clean, and everybody knows, like, wait a minute, I saw you do this, or I know you did this, because I'm part of it, right? But the investigation that's done in a subjective and unfair and impartial way, right? You don't want that. You want to make sure that the investigation is fair, and is objective and has no bias to it. So you have to find the right person to appoint to do that, right? Sufficient evidence of guilt. That's all fact finding, collecting evidence, okay? And you're making sure that you have a substantial case. Many people, and a lot of these things really are facets of our legal system, okay? So you may ask, oh, there's a certain case that comes up, or a certain situation that comes up, but nothing happened. Why didn't anything happen? Well, there's not enough evidence. There's no video, right? So let's just take this for instance. Everybody remembers George Floyd, right? Got beat up by the cops and that kind of thing. Or Breonna Stewart, or what's the name? Ronaldo something, right? All these people were shot by the police. Okay. What was the thing that was the most important thing in convicting some of those officers? The videos, right? There was documentation. I could see what was going on, right? And everybody's gonna have a different perception of the video, right? But at least I have something, right? It's not a he say, she say, or it's not a, oh, cops are always right, or the person in authority is always right, kind of thing, okay? The video helped to prove that the police had acted in a kind of, had abuse of power, sort of, right? And had gone kind of over the top with their doling out of punishment. Okay? So think about this from 20, 30 years ago when we didn't have that kind of technology running around, right? And people were just getting beat or shot just cause, right? You end up in a, they call it, ever the term sundown state or sundown city, right? All right. So sundown city or sundown state is a place where you can't be out after the sun goes down, because then they basically can arrest you and do whatever they want to do, right? And so imagine that those technologies were not around, and people just getting beat and killed, and then you go and say, sheriff such and such did this to me, and they're like, really, the sheriff? You think the sheriff did that to you? You think you're gonna believe you? They're not gonna believe you. The sheriff's a good guy. Yeah, the sheriff's also racist. Okay, the sheriff's also crazy. All right, the
But
sheriff.
then they look at his performance evals and it's all spotless.
Right, it's all spotless, right? Nobody report that kind of thing, right? Because again, it's a community, they're gonna stick together and protect their own, okay? So, you have to have evidence, right? Because that is gonna support your case either way. Unfortunately, nowadays, you really can't, committing a crime in this day and age is extremely difficult. Committing and getting away with it, okay? Yep. The criminals have to be much smarter nowadays because our techniques in catching people and solving crime is sophisticated, right? We have so many cameras everywhere. There's cameras everywhere. You just wouldn't believe where the cameras are at. They're watching 24/7, every angle, right? They know where you move into. You go through a traffic light. We know you went through that traffic light at 5:05 p.m. And you stopped at McDonald's.
That's why there's not really any more serial killers nowadays.
Right. It's hard. It's difficult being a criminal nowadays, right? You have to be extremely methodical and smart. If you have a criminal that's successful criminal or successful serial killer, right? That person is extremely intelligent. They're very meticulous. They're very detail oriented, right? And at any given time, there's about, I think, 17 to 20 serial killers in the United States. That's a lot of people going around killing people. 17 to 20 serial killers.
There was that one college one recently where he was murdering the college students, and then the tarot card reader on YouTube was trying to say that it was a professor. And then there's a huge lawsuit.
Oh, really? I didn't see that one. Yeah. It's just, you gotta be smart, but, again, back to evidence, right? We collecting evidence at a rapid pace, okay, in all types of formats, and people incriminate themselves, really, okay? Because you have people that don't understand technology that they're using, right? They're making phone calls. Yeah, hey, come help me out. I got an issue here. Ping, 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 ping. Oh no, I didn't use the company car. You sure about that? The company car has a tracker in it that tells me exactly where it's going every day of the week. Okay? When I worked for Toyota, yes, they gave me a car, right? But the car had a tracker in it. Yeah, they knew where the car was at all times. Okay? So I mean, they knew where I was at when I was using the car. Right? Now I wasn't doing it.
Cell phone pinging off the towers. They know where you're at.
Cell phone pinging off the towers. It's all kind of stuff, right? And so, but all that evidence is collected and it's useful in making sure that things get done properly, right? People come to justice, whether it be in the corporate environment or the business environment. Doesn't matter. I mean, the legal environment out there. Well, rules and penalties apply consistently, right? This is one that you gotta be careful with. If you are showing favoritism or you're not really applying the rules and the regulations in a judicial and fair manner, you're gonna get hit on that. You're gonna end up losing that fight 9 times out of 10, right? You can't, if the situation is the same for all of us, then the punishment should be the same for all of us, all right? regardless of, if there's previous incidents, right? So that particular instance stand on its own, right? But when we look at the culmination or like the end state of, okay, we got one, embezzlement, we got hostile environment or sexual assault, right? Both those things stand on their own, right? But we had issues before this, right, with this person. We can't, treat that person a different way than somebody else who's done the same thing, who's squeaky clean, right? It's the same thing. You get 10 years for rape, they should get 10 years for the same rape if they were involved in the same way, in the same manner, the same level, right? And so we have different varying degrees of murder, different varying degrees of rape, different varying degrees of theft, all right? So that we can kind of assign punishment to each person based on the degree of what they were involved in and how they the outcome of it, right? So you have to apply the rules fairly and consistently, and that really is the best approach that I can give to anybody. If you are very consistent, it's okay if you're an asshole, okay? But at least I know the asshole I'm dealing with. Okay, I may not like you may be a terrible boss, but you're a terrible boss, and everybody thinks the same way. Like when I go into the office, it's the same butt chewing that Nathan's gonna get because it's the same, it's consistent. But then if I go in the office, Nathan goes in the office, and then Mariana goes in the office, and all of a sudden it's like, oh hey, and he's giving her candy and flowers, and like, oh sit down, he's rubbing her back and the shoulders, like don't worry about it, we'll figure something out, like that, yeah. Not good. Sorry to use Mariana. It happens.
I've seen it.
Right? Yeah, it happens, right? And it happens on both going both ways. All right. There's a female, male, male, female, gender, ethnicity, religion. It doesn't matter. Whatever the commonality is, it occurs. Okay. Okay. All right. Due process considerations. All right. So a lot of this stuff is actually legal stuff. Okay. More legalese than anything else. Have presidents been handled? How have presidents been handled? Everybody understand the concept of precedents? So basically, if something has occurred already and we have some kind of historical account of it and what happened, and now it becomes kind of the template for how we handle these things, that becomes a precedent. Normally for us United States, something becomes a precedent normally when it's gone to the Supreme Court, and Supreme Court has issued a decision on it, it comes back, it becomes a precedent for the most part.
It's like someone versus something.
Right, Roe v. Wade, right? Set the precedence for abortion rights, right? Brown versus the Board of Education served the precedence for separation based on ethnicity or race in the school system, that kind of thing, right? So, is there precedence? How has it been handled? Okay, now you can have precedence at a lower level internally, right? How have we handled sexual assault before? If we had one, right? Maybe we haven't, okay? If we haven't had one, how have other places handled it? How is it handled in other corporations? How is it handled in the courts, right? By other people, right? And so we try to figure that out and see if there's already a plan or process towards that, then we try to stick with precedents and not deviate from precedents. Because again, we want to be consistent in what we're doing. Because we don't want to leave any room for appeal. We don't want to leave any room for doubt. Right? If you get, fired because you are late 5 times, then anybody who's late 5 times should probably get fired too, right? Now there might be some tweaks and stuff like that, but at the end of the day, it's probably just the same. So we need to talk, you're fired, okay? Was the employee asked for his or her side of the story? Again, due process, that's the whole point of it, right? You're gonna get two sides of the coin. And this kind of happens on its own because you don't want to stifle anybody from telling their side of the story, because if you do, that pretty much intimates that you are guilty as a corporation, all right? If you're trying to shut people up, right? Like, hey, don't say anything, or I don't care about your side of the story. We don't want to hear it. We know you know, a bad employee or something like that, right? Well, why don't you want to hear what they got to say? Right? Normally it's because whatever they're saying is going to be hurtful to the company, right? Or it's going to be hurtful to that person. They don't want the truth to come out, or they don't want that side of the story to come out. Because somebody's going to embarrass them, right? They may not necessarily be in the wrong, but it's not something they necessarily want that's out, okay? Is a complaint process available, right? Now, this is something that, you know, most companies have, right? The problem is that a lot of people don't know how it goes, right? They don't know where to go find out, like, okay, if I have a complaint or issue, where do I go? Right? I go to HR, know that part, but aside from that, what else happens? Like, what is the procedure? What are my timelines? What am I required to do? What are my obligations, responsibilities, and duties, right? To make sure that everything happens the way it should happen, right? Was the complaint process used, right? Did we skip a few things, right? Did we say, you know what? Don't worry about turning to HR. Come into my office, we'll talk, and we'll figure it out, okay? If, depending on the nature of the issue, and the degree of the issue, right? Some things you can handle in the office. And most things, I find that if you talk to people, you can handle them at the lowest levels, right? It's when you let things fester and you don't really take care of them, that they start to elevate and start to become a real problem, that now you have to, kind of let it go above your pay grade. And so if you don't necessarily use the process, and decide, I'm gonna try to handle it myself, that may turn out to bite you in the butt later on down the line, just because people are unpredictable. People will say things, that they really don't have no intention of keeping their word on, right? And so it's very difficult to predict what people are going to do. Did the company retaliate against the employee? Another big no-no, okay? If employee is suing an employer and the employee is still there, typically what will happen, that employee will be moved to another department, another section with a different boss and everything, okay? Will just be just moved altogether. What you don't want is retaliation, right? You don't want whoever's being accused or the company doing things that are seen as getting revenge, right? Or making life hard for folks. Kind of like, constructive
You talked about it a little bit.
yeah. Create a constructive environment, right? In that you're making it so tough for the person, it's so uncomfortable that they leave, right? Or you just don't want to do that, right? And it happens a lot of times, from what I've seen in sexual assault cases, sexual harassment cases, right? Where someone's accusing someone else of being sexually, doing something sexually that they didn't like. And so they say, hey, you know what, we got an investigation, you go over here, you go over there, but they'll retaliate against them because they're mad. Like, why'd you report that? I was trying to take you out. I just really liked you, and I was just, I was trying to be nice, and trying to give you a massage, whatever it is that they justify, their actions with. And then was the decision based on facts, okay? Whatever you decide, you need to stand on it, okay? And not to be opinion or what you think should happen. There's many situations that occur where you're going to have your own opinion about what you think should happen, but what should happen based on the law? What should happen based on the precedents? What should happen based on the rules and the regulations is the most important thing. There's a lot of people that don't like former President Trump, right? But at the same time, he is due fair treatment, right? Just because I don't like him doesn't mean I'm going to treat him any differently, all right? I don't like what he did, unless I can prove that in court, then I need to let him go, all right? I need to treat him the same way I would treat anybody else, okay? So, it can't be, based on my own personal opinions or whatever I think. But action process viewed as fair by outside entities, which is probably one of the more important aspects of making sure that you're doing things right. When other people look at it, do they think it's fair? If they look at it and think it's fair, then it probably was a fair process and everything was done correctly. If they think it's unfair, right, and they have some questions about it, you probably might have missed some things, right? Whoever it is, and you see this all the time in in legal proceedings, is that when the verdict comes out, just like what's the case? Some of the officers that were involved in shootings, right? Some of them got off, right? And the public didn't like that. But at the end of the day, was it fair? Okay? Did they get treated the way they were supposed to get treated based on the law and what they did? Yes, if the jury saw it fit to let them go based on the evidence that was presented, then that's what it is. You weren't there. Your perception of your idea of what occurred, even if you saw the video, which we all saw, all right, in many instances, there's so many other things going on that are not in the video, right? And so you may not have the full story. So you have to make sure that everything is good to go, right? Organizational justice, a couple different elements to it. Procedural justice, making sure the process is fair, right? Distributed justice, making sure that there's fairness in the distribution of outcome. So basically, does the crime, is the punishment fit the crime? Okay? Oh, I stole a stapler, you're fired. It's a little extreme. Okay? Or hey, you raped somebody at work. Hey, don't worry, we're gonna give you a slap on the hand. Come back tomorrow. Okay? You have to make sure distributed justice occurs. Right? Interactional justice, right? The degree to which the person feels like they got treated fairly, right? Do you think everything went smooth? Do you think that you got a fair shake, right? And this is important, right? They're all important, right? But at the end of the day, you want to make sure that the person feels like they had every opportunity to defend themselves. And in many cases, you're gonna have people that just feel like they got screwed by the system, right? That's how we all feel a lot of times, right? Because we don't necessarily have all the facts and things happen and you're just not really sure and you get screwed and you're like, man, you got screwed me and well, this is what happened and what don't you think that's kind of immoral, like unethical? Yeah, I mean it's on that line, but it's legal, right? It may not be ethical, but it's legal. Okay, it's on that gray area. Open door policy, a good thing that I would suggest you employ. Okay, you should always be able to have your employees come talk to you. Right? Now, I'm not saying to circumvent or to jump the chain of command. I'm just suggesting that you have an open door policy where people feel comfortable enough to come speak to you if they feel like they're not getting anything from their immediate supervisor or whoever they're supposed to be speaking to. The only thing that I would recommend is that you tell them, you know what, if you're gonna come talk to me, make sure you let your supervisor know that you're coming to talk to someone above them, right, to their boss. That way, they kind of have a heads up and they can also be ready to defend themselves in whatever situation. Okay, we got ADR, which we'll talk about, we're not gonna talk about ADR next week. So ADR basically alternative dispute resolution, right? We got arbitration and mediation. And the two keys between the two, the difference between the two, arbitration is binding, mediation is non-binding, okay? So whatever happens in arbitration, that's it. There's no place else to go. You're done. Party's over. That's that, okay? Mediation, a little different, right? You go into mediation, and if you don't like what the outcome was, you're like, I ain't doing this. I'm going to sue you guys. Or I want to go back to mediation. I want to keep going because I'm not happy with the results, right? So that's really the two. There's a lot of different ADR options, ombuds, okay? Basically somebody who kind of handles thing, but it's independent, right? They kind of external, right? This is kind of that external person I was talking about, right? That comes in and kind of, all right, let me see what's going on and try to shake this thing out and make sure everything's good to go. The privacy rules when it comes down to social media and, you know, that kind of thing, company time. That was a big issue when, you know, the internet first popped up and Facebook and all this other stuff and people were on, you know, surfing the net at work. Nowadays, not so much of an issue. It's kind of like one of those things that's like, it's a given. Like people are going to take care of stuff at work. They're going to take care of their personal matters at work. And you kind of want them to, right? You kind of want them like, hey, I don't mind spend some time on the computer taking care of your personal stuff, but don't spend all day on the computer taking care of your personal stuff, right? People know that, companies know it's understandable. And now it's not such a big deal because all of us have phones that we can surf the net on. We don't need to use the computer, the work computer to do it, right? Because, you know, if you didn't know, which I'm sure you all guys do know, right? It's like anything else. Anything you surf on the computer at work, guess what? It's the company's property. One. Two, they're watching. Okay? They're watching like hawks. They're flagging everything. Okay? We had when the internet first came out and it was at work, people were surfing the net. People were surfing pornography at work. They were surfing, you know, movies at work. They were surfing all kind of stuff at work. All that stuff eventually gets flagged. Okay? Child pornography, it was ridiculous. But the stuff that people were actually pulling up on their work computers because they thought no one was watching. They thought no one was looking. And come to find out, guess what? Got all kind of detectives for that stuff, right? They're always watching, right? So that's another thing you want to be careful of, right? Mobile devices that company owns, you gotta be cognizant of that too, because that again is company property. Whatever phone calls, whatever conversation, whatever materials on there, it belongs to the company. And if it belongs to the company, more likely it's gonna be used in court. All right, in some legal proceedings against you or for you, whatever the case may be. All right. All right, I'm gonna stop here. Okay. Finish up this chapter, like 5 more slides, and then finish up chapter 15 also. Okay. And that one's pretty long, it's like 50 something slides. All right. Get your LE in, okay? Might be doing a pretty good job on getting all that stuff in. Try not to be late, okay? Especially like on your stuff. Now we're in week 7, going to week 8. I really don't have any sympathy for late work. Okay? I don't. Not on the initial grade. Okay? Now if you come back to me and you know, hey, can you open it up for me? I will probably more likely open it up for you. But you know, just know that there's gonna be some points deducted because the people that submitted on time, they need to be treated fairly and not screwed over and getting, you know, just, you know, taken advantage of, sort of, okay? Study for your final, okay? It's open note, open book, right, except for the internet, so, not, you know, that's not, you know, anything I can control, unless you're in class here. Aside from that, you know, get your papers right. Like I said, take heed to what I said early in class. It's not worth it, but, you know, that's on you, okay? And, that's pretty much it, all right? Any questions, comments, gripes, complaints?
Are you gonna talk to the, whoever it was about getting that thing fixed?
Yeah,
Probably tomorrow.
yeah, I'm sure that it's something I can fix in the system. I just don't know where to go to do it because I've never had to do it. But if not, yeah, I'll send her an email like, hey, but more than likely she's gonna notice. She's gonna be like, hey, how come, what's up with these grades? Like, I don't know. A lot of the systems have been like doing weird stuff. All the school systems been acting up the past couple weeks. Yeah, the Moodle. Yeah, it's a Moodle. It's just been, I don't know what's going on with it. So we might be transitioning to a new system. Hopefully, I don't know. I hate Moodle. Yeah, I like Canvas, but okay. But aside from that, got anything else? No. Good. All right, we got it next week. Last week, okay? No point talk. Barry, I'm not gonna see you again till January, huh?
Yeah.
Oh, man. Well,
Well,
enjoy.
happy holidays.
Same to you.
Are you gonna stay here in San Diego?
Oh, no. I'm going. I'm going on a cruise.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah,
going to
that's
cruise.
super
Yeah,
fun.
I'm going to Honduras. I'm going to go Belize. And then,
Escaping the winter.
that's right.
Which cruise you taking? What cruise?
Norwegian.
That's the best one.
Yeah, I'm going to Norwegian for like 10 days.
Did you book it through, the Army Exchange program?
No.
It's way discounted.
Is it?
Heavily discounted, yeah.
Huh.
And they give you like $2,000 on board spending.
Oh, really?
During packages included.
Oh, wow.
You go on the Army Exchange website, then you go on the marketplace,
Yeah.
and it's the travel,
Interesting. Okay. Maybe
flights,
next time.
cars, everything.
Yeah, I didn't coordinate this one. Another family member coordinated. I just gave my money, but I should have bought my own stuff, but
You're gonna have fun either way. And it's
Yeah.
gonna be 10 days without cooking.
Yeah.
yeah, that's true. Yeah. Yeah, that's true. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. 'Cause I appreciate it. You guys have a good, you have a good holiday.
Thank
You staying here?
Yeah, I'm staying
Okay.
here.
You guys have a good holiday
Thank
and you
you.
have, and then I'll see the rest of you next week. Ready to rock and roll.
So who do I need to talk to about my class schedule? Cause I don't even know what class I'm taking next. It's not on my student portal or anything.
I will talk to Dr. Gore.
Cause like the other schools, you pick your classes.
Yes.
But
This
this
school-
one, I don't think you do.
No, this school, they set your class up for you. So I would speak to, probably,
And there is a winter break?
yeah. Once,